Welcome in everyone to this knuckle-bashing, fist-smashing deep dive video series where we take on the challenge of classic and modern beat-em-ups, brawlers and fighting games, diving into their development, mechanics and stories of these bone-breaking genres. For the first video in the series, we are looking at Streets of Rage 2, not the earliest example of a brawler by any means, but very highly regarded. Upon its release, Streets of Rage 2 received critical acclaim and featured in the top 5 best-selling Genesis/Megadrive games in multiple regions around the world. It received several awards, including Top 3 Hottest Video Game Babe for Blaze from Electronic Gaming Monthly. The most important award, I think you'll agree. The game is known as Bare Knuckle 2 in Japan, but Streets of Rage 2 is what most of us gaijin know it as. The game came out all the way back in 1992, and was developed by a team of various companies. One of the most notable being Ancient, who were formed in 1990 by one of the most influential composers in chiptune and video game music, Koshiro Yuzo, his sister, illustrator and designer Koshiro Ayano, along with their mother. The company has worked closely with Sega on several well-known titles, including the 8-bit versions of Sonic the Hedgehog, released in 1991, as well as Streets of Rage 3, and Beyond Oasis, aka Story of 4, in 1994, and the company is still alive and kicking to this day. Ayano led the development of Streets of Rage 2 while in her early 20s, coming up with the overall look of the game, its character designs, and outlining the special moves and attacks that would feature in the game. In a developer interview that you can find on Shmuplations, Koshiro Ayano describes how she wanted the flow of the game to be, and the influence that a certain little fighting game had on the development of Streets of Rage 2. I'm sure you've played Street Fighter 2, Ayano states. My brother and I did too. We liked it so much we bought a cabinet and had it installed in the office at Ancient. My brother and I liked the way they fought in Street Fighter 2, and between the two of us, a shared vision of the fighting of Streets of Rage 2 arose. It was this vision that would determine how each of the characters in Streets of Rage 2 would play and animate. As was common in beat-em-ups at the time, you would have an attack button, jump button, and a button for special attacks. In Streets of Rage 1, the special attack was the same for every character. You would call in a police car, and an officer would fire a rocket that would act as a screen clearer, knocking all enemies down, if not killing them off entirely. But in Streets of Rage 2, each character has their own special abilities, and then something called a blitz attack. A blitz won't take away health, but is activated by a double forward input, followed by pressing attack. The development team for the game was small, Ayano notes in an interview with Time Extension, alongside her husband Hitoshi Ariga, who also worked on the game. And he states, if our real goal was 100%, then we did about 80% of what we planned. Ayano says that she really wanted to include the boss character Shiva in Versus mode. I was working on his sprite, and if I had another week, we would have done it. He would have been done. But we didn't have that week. I remember us, that is Sega and her, arguing, and I was crying on the phone. I would have made it, but they wouldn't let me. Which may have been just as well, as in order to achieve all that they wanted, i.e. new features and a larger memory cache, the programmers had to improve the Genesis's own cartridge specifications. Ayano was also the reason for Adam, a playable character in the first game, not coming back in the second, at least in a playable fashion. This was because Adam had no specialty, so he was out. In the first game, Adam is high-powered, just like Axel, only with a higher jump and less speed. The team wanted to add more variety to the characters, and so Adam's younger brother Sammy was added, who has the highest mobility in the game and a flashy moveset, alongside Max, the powerhouse grappler, whose throw-based wrestling style was liked by Ayano's brother Yuzo. Speaking of Ayano's brother, he unsurprisingly composed the soundtrack of Streets of Rage 2, alongside 3 other contributions from Motohiro Kawashima. Considered revolutionary for its time, it was influenced by house, techno, hardcore techno, and breakbeat. In an interview on Shmuplations, Yuzo states, "Nowadays that music is common enough in games, but at the time in Japan, it was an almost entirely new experiment. But this too was something of a coincidence. At the time I was into clubbing, and I often went to Yellow and Maharaja in Nishi Azabu. I'd like to try creating music like this, I thought to myself. Then, as it happened, we were approached about Bare Knuckle, and when I tried fitting club music to it, it worked surprisingly well. But although well liked, even loved in America and Europe, the music was apparently not as well received in Yuzo's native land. There's a lot of Japanese fans who love the music for Is and Misty Blue, but even now in America and Europe, they really like bare knuckle. And here are our heroes. My girl Blaze, of course. Avert your eyes, please. And there's Cody from Final Fight, both of whom are returning from the first game. Then we have Muscle Man Max, and finally, there's the most 90s child that ever did 90s, Skate. Imagine your friend has been kidnapped, and you assemble a team of badasses to go save him, and then this small child asks to tag along. And you say, sure, that seems like a plan. Come along, small child, let's go save your bro. This is entirely responsible. And look at this guy! You can tell he loves being the villain. Ha! I have kidnapped your friend for evil reasons. Ha ha ha. Anyway, let's quickly run through these heroes and the gameplay. In Streets of Rage 2, you can move in 8 directions and have an attack, jump, and special attack button. Attacks chain together to create combos, and you can also do a back attack to halt any enemies that try to sneak up behind you. Each character has 2 specific special moves, one neutral special, where you press the special button and no direction, which acts as a kind of get off me move, a more offensive special, activated by pressing forward and the special button, but which leaves your rear exposed. Performing a special takes a small amount of your health, so you can't just spam these things. Characters can also grab and throw enemies in either direction, or perform a grab attack. Also, by grabbing and pressing jump, you can vault to the other side of enemies to switch sides with them. Although one character cannot do this. Vaulting is great if you find yourself cornered, or if you have a group of enemies behind you. Something of note, when you are being thrown by an enemy, you can press up and jump, which will cause you to land on your feet. This means you can avoid taking damage from throws. Neat, right? And there's also several weapons that can be found or that are dropped by enemies to wield. There are also infinite combos in the game. With the correct timing, you can keep an enemy in hit stun, meaning they cannot hit you back. A cheap way to beat sub and main bosses if you can keep the rhythm. You can also double tap forward and the attack button to do a blitz special, and each character has their own version of this. On to the characters themselves, Axel is the all-rounder of the game, but still pretty powerful. Probably the way to go if it's your first playthrough. His blitz special is the iconic Grand Upper. Or is it? In this happy 30th anniversary Streets of Rage post on Twitter, forever Twitter, Koshiro Yuzo reveals the true name of the move.
Ground Upper is a special move that Axel Stone, the Streets of Rage series protagonist, performs. Here I want to tell you something that I have been keeping a secret for a long time. I see many people on the net writing Ground Upper, G-R-A-N-D, Ground Upper. That's incorrect. Ground Upper is correct. You know what I mean? You see the back of the Axel's hand touches the ground when he hits an uppercut. Therefore, I named it Ground Upper, I guess. I didn't care I didn't care the difference between ground and ground back in the day because that's a bit tricky for the Japanese. But we say that using Ground Upper is a world standard, so I don't want to correct that. But you guys should take this opportunity and remember this small trivia.
Yes, it is Ground Upper, folks. But you're not going to stop calling it Grand Upper, are you? No. Didn't think so. Blaze sacrifices damage to instead focus more on speed and range. Her blitz sees her leap forward, cutting down with an energy attack. Max is the slow but powerful archetype. He does a lot of damage, and his blitz sends him flying forward with a sweep. Max is unique as he is unable to vault over opponents, and instead can jump while grabbing an enemy and perform an atomic drop. Devastating. Skate is the fastest of all the characters and has the smallest hurtbox in the game, so he can actually avoid being hit in some instances. He does have generally poor range and damage though, but his blitz launches him forward as a small child cannonball. I'll be taking Blaze as we run through the game for this video, of course, and only Blaze. I'm nothing if not loyal. There are 8 stages to battle your way through in a variety of locales. Note that this is a deep dive and not a speedrun or a showcase of optimal strategies here. Just so we're clear, you shouldn't expect that here. I'm not doing it. I can't. But I will highlight interesting enemy moves and some strats that I employ, such as they are. Another note, I'll be playing the version from the PS3 copy of the Megadrive Ultimate Collection. Anyway, here is the intro, setting up the story of the game. Basically, Mr. X, the bad guy from the first Streets of Rage, has returned. and he's kidnapped Adam, a playable character from the first game. And of course that means all of our heroes have gotten the rage to go and rescue him. Time to hit those streets. So we kick off downtown, and are greeted by a group of Galsias, the most generic of enemies. Later on in the game they can charge at you with knives, but for now they're the jobbiest of jobbers. We then get a couple of signals. Fun fact, the letter at the beginning of their name represents the colour of their jackets. Again, these are really just jobber enemies, but later they will perform a slide attack that can trip you up if you are not being careful. What is that sign in the background there? Does that say Rim? And then Heaven? I don't want to know what goes on in there. We start moving diagonally down towards the screen here as a Donovan pops up into view, another common enemy type, who later uses steel pipes and has the ability to uppercut you out of the air. He's a little bit tougher, but still nothing special. As in any semi-decent beat-em-up, you can of course throw enemies into each other, useful later when you're surrounded by groups of grunts. A wild Joseph appears. These are basically the same as Galsia. You'll come across several palette swaps of various enemies in the game. Just smack them around like everyone else. Jumping in with a down jumping punch will let you hit grounded opponents and continue a combo, so do that whenever you can. There are also a couple of healing items in the game. Apples, which will heal you a small amount, and chicken, which is a full health refill. Don't use them too soon, or leave it too late to pick up. They won't disappear, but you can get thrown or hit in such a way that the screen scrolls forward and the item is lost. Or you can just trigger some scene transition and lose the item that way. Now here we got a weapon, the Humble Knife. Not much in terms of damage, but you get a bit more range and you can knock enemies down with this. You can also throw the knife by holding attack and pressing jump. After cutting up some more Dalsias, a Donovan pops up out of the sewer with his massive rod of iron piping. Knock him down and take it for yourself. Good damage and range from these things. God damn it, Galsia, just die. A bit of a jobber whacking later, and you meet your first mid-stage boss, of which there are two in this stage. The terrifyingly named Jack. Okay then. Jack wields a knife and will throw it at you if you're out of range. He does a double slash attack thingy too. If you have the pipe, he'll have no chance. Also, there's chicken in the top sign by this door. We are now inside a bar. The tables and chairs can be smashed, and some have money and healing items. Take this chair apple here, if you missed the chicken from before. Money and gold bars just increase your points, and when you rack up enough points, you gain an extra life, so it's worth picking up all the cash you can find. After a wave of jobbers, we come to a bar with a foxy-looking lady, but who is definitely no Blaze Fielding. Laughing away, waiting, it seems, for a cocktail. She removes her shawl and brandishes a whip. Nice touch with the barman running off, by the way. This is the second mid-boss of this stage, Electra. Avoid her whip attacks and watch out for her instant jumping kick, anti-airs. Oh. Electra ain't much, so you should finish her off.
She said, praising, boom. Huh? Hey, what's happening? Are you okay?
Pretty quickly. Out in the back alley behind the bar, it started raining. There's some trash chicken for your refined palate, should you be in need. You can keep your distance here and take out some of the jobber enemies before taking on the stage boss, Barbon. He has some mid-range attacks and will throw you if given the chance. A few combos will put him on his ass. Also, I didn't do it much in this fight, but your blitz attacks can be useful to close the gap. He might kick you out of it though. This could be a good point to use an infinite combo if you have the skill for it. Later on you'll notice there will be a couple of palette swaps of this guy, and that is stage 1. A lot of the enemies have appeared now, so unless they do something interesting later, I won't really mention them or their palette swaps again. Stage 2 sees us at a bridge construction site, the lights of the city shining bright in the background. A bunch of barrels stand seductively, begging you to smash them. So do that, for all the money and a knife, if you want it. We're now introduced to biker enemies, or riders, that often appear with damp-sounding names. These enemies can use steel pipes, and you'll see some lobbing grenades as they ride past you, and from the background later on. Beware of riders riding onto the screen with their bikes, attempting to mow you down. Even hitting them off their bikes can lead to you getting hit. Kinda cheap. Moving on, make sure to grab a pipe. I find it helps with the biker assholes. As do jumping kicks. Eventually you arrive at a truck parked in the middle of the road. Clear the enemies and don't forget the chicken in a barrel before you finish everyone off. Inside said truck, with your belly full of chicken meat, a bunch of riders are cheering for some reason. Oh, it's Hakuya. beat this guy up and the rest of the goons along with this Ryokuro. Then tear through the side, or I guess front of this vehicle. Back on the bridge, just keep pushing forward. Quite a neat detail here is when you throw an enemy, the screen shakes and these lights rock back and forth. You know what isn't so neat? Is the stage boss, Jet, and later Jet's palette swaps. These assholes have a jetpack and will stay aloft in the air, occasionally coming down to Superman punch you, dive kick you, or grab and slam you to the ground. When I face these guys, I kind of jump kick around the stage, hoping to land a hit, which is kinda hilarious if you play as Axel. I find this fight either goes by quickly or is a slog, never anything in between. If you can land a throw, you can do a decent chunk of damage. Stage 3 seems to be set in a carnival with not Disneyland Castle in the background. This stage is quite the trip actually, and has several interesting environments, including an arcade which prominently features Bare Knuckle, the name for Streets of Rage in Japan. Smash those expensive arcade cabinets and take all the money. Wait, so are we the good guys or not? Meh. We then enter a place called Pirates, and meet a very stabby Joseph. And a Galcia who drops straight down into your arms and a German suplex. I mean, who wouldn't want Blaze to suplex them? Up on deck, we're now on a pirate ship it seems. A pirate ship with ninjas. Okay. These guys swing swords and use kunai. They can also do a cannonball attack and run literal circles around you, so try to take them out quickly. The sword is quite strong against them, but then who is strong against swords? And don't forget to grab the 1-up hidden in a crate just before the ninja. Moving on, we come to a very horrifying looking entrance. Some familiar looking goons stand outside, a Jack and Electra name swap here. They can be a pain when fought together, as Jack, or Beano here, will throw knives at you, and Lisa will shock you with her whip when you attack other enemies. Just beat them up and move on with your day, ASAP. Inside, it's just a HR Giga art project. Weird alien eggs litter the floor here, and inexplicably explode when you hit them. A creepy mist fills the stage, and enemies will pop up from the bottom from time to time. At a certain point in this Giger-esque funhouse, you meet the stage's mid-boss, a weird alien machine thing that acts like a pendulum and will bounce back after you hit it. It will knock you down if it hits you, but it's yet another thing weak to sword. It explodes once defeated and just leaves a wall gina. A few steps on and the stage boss shows up, Zamza, an annoying agile boss that can be difficult to hit. I think Blaze's blitz attack might be good here, but I'm just jumping around trying to hit him. With proper timing, which I don't really have, you can dodge and counter his attacks. Stage 4. With the amusement park still visible in the distance, we make our way to a baseball field with signs telling us, "Do baseball," and "It's like boo." Yeah, you can pick up plenty of steel pipes along the way, so do that, and swing away. Do baseball, folks. Baseball! Big Ben is your mid-boss for this stage, located inside the stadium. On the mound? Is that what it's called? I don't know. Baseball! A rather rotund gentleman who will attempt to body splash you, stay out of his range, and wail on him when he fails to hit you. Later variants will sometimes spew fire at you. Nice. When you beat the big guy, the mound moves beneath you. It's time for that classic beat-em-up staple, an elevator section. Waves of enemies will come piling in on you, so keep on your toes and beat people up. Trying to keep on one side of the group of enemies is best, I feel. If you become surrounded by enemies, you can do your character's rear attack, performed with attack plus jump buttons. Blaze performs a sweep that hits both sides of you, knocking enemies on their asses. Useful. The elevator ride should have been a nice warm-up for the stage boss. Wrestling legend, the ultimate Abadede? Abadabadoo will run at you with his running lariat that ends with an uppercut, as well as throw you about like a ragdoll. He also has a get off me move, which can be annoying when trying to get your combos in. Oh, and he has this body splash thing too. You can space him out though, and land combos and make use of your specials, but also the blitz attack can be useful here. If you're lucky, you can get in a damaging throw. Of note, in a 2015 developer interview with Streets of Rage 2 designer Ayano Koshiro, Koshiro notes that the manga Baki the Grappler was inspiration for the game, and most likely for this level. Stage 5 starts and now we're on a ship. Okay. Not sure how we got here, but okay. Early on in the level, you'll run across Hart, who resembles Big Ben and has a similar moveset. Once again, stay out of the way of his body splash, and you should be able to take him out, bit by bit. Up some stairs, and Raven drops in to say hi, a Muay Thai fighter with devastating knee attacks. A grab attack where he knees your face, and the ability to block can make him a problem in a group. Not so bad on his own, however. On to the mid-boss, Wayne! I found Blitz works quite well here. Up on deck we have another one of these jetpack assholes. A bunch of bikers, some throwing grenades from the safety of the background, which is neat. I love that. And of course, ninjas. Stop jumping around! Eventually you will come across another rotund man, Balloon. You should try to keep back here, as you don't want to keep moving forward and trigger the main boss, believe me. Once Balloon is dead, along with any stragglers, it's time to face stage boss, Bear. He can be a pretty tough customer. Don't jump at him, as he has an anti-air uppercut. He also has a flying butt drop, and will do big damage with a punch combo. You will need to be patient and choose your openings for this fight, making use of specials whenever he grabs you. Phew. 6th stage and we are at the beach. No time for sunbathing though. Oh hey, it's ninjas. I guess they like to work on their tan too. You'll come across this variant with a kunai that also flings shurikens at you. So much fun. At the edge of the beach we have a group of Muay Thai fighters to contend with. If they keep blocking, your attacks make use of throws, otherwise just wail on them. With those guys done, we enter the jungle, I think. Just roll with it. Whack the sandbags you come across for some goodies. You'll run into another big boy in the form of Gourmand, rocking the purple dungarees. After dispatching them, work your way to the end stage bosses through an onslaught of bikers and a couple of dominatrixes. Cypher, Suver, whatever, and Stealth. Two of the most annoying to hit enemies in the game. I think it might be best to focus on one of them, but I don't really know. Sometimes I jump around and hit them every time, and the fight is over quickly. Other times it's pretty much like this. And they both died at the same time. What the hell? We made it to the factory and stage 7. Lots of cool moving parts in the stage's background here, and the conveyor belts can either be a hazard or a useful tool when you're fighting. Be sure to hit this bin thing and grab the extra life when you meet Whip Lady and Ninja Dude. The bins on this lift contain one of the last health items in the game, so be sure to break it open and use it at the appropriate time. Now expect wave upon wave of enemies for about 4-ish minutes as the lift moves ever upwards. It certainly feels like the game's attempting to end you. Like we might be on our way to the final stage or something. Expect to see lots of mid-bosses and the like, as well as lots and lots of jobbers. Finally, you arrive at the top, only to be greeted by the stage bosses, Particle and Molecule. Robots that jump around and have a mace thing that makes the greatest sound effect when you're hit by it. Kind of annoying though. Oh, and they also shoot at you from distance. With the Tweedledum and D-bots defeated, it's on to the final stage. We appear to be at some kind of snazzy office building or something, as some familiar sounding music begins to play. This vase contains what I believe is the last healing item of the game, so you definitely want to eat that up, but maybe wait until Bear Jr. arrives on the scene. Yes, you knew it was coming. We have a boss rush, a common beat-em-up trope from this era. You'll now need to utilize all of the skills that you have learned along the way, and get inside the elevator and fight your way up the building. At the top, you will see Mr. X sitting menacingly in a chair. Stood next to him is the stage's mid-boss, Shiva. Dispatch the grunts and take him down. Once defeated, Mr. X himself stands up, armed with his Tommy gun. Wait, Tommy gun? How is this fair? Mr. X's goons will pour onto the stage as soon as the fight begins. Get too close to Mr. X, and you'll get the butt of his gun to your face. And of course he blasts everyone, even his own men aren't safe. Jumping kicks and blazes blitz are your friends in this fight, I find. And finally, it is done! Mr. X is defeated. Honestly, I think I was on the final credit final life here. And so we must enter the obligatory Name of Champions. And so our story ends. Mr. X is dead. Maybe. Hey, it's Adam. That's right, we were here to save you. I'd honestly kind of forgotten that. We brought your brother with us. We are responsible adults after all. Is everyone staring at the sun here? What is this shot? Yep, pretty much just staring into the sun. Who's in that chopper though? Could be anyone. And there we are. Number 3, Blaze Ass. Perfect. So, where can you play Streets of Rage 2 these days? Well, like I said, I was playing the PS3 Genesis / Megadrive Ultimate Collection. There is also an updated version of this for the PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. However, I believe these have been delisted from digital stores, which is unfortunate. Still a great game to play, lots of mechanics with an awesome soundtrack, and for those of us oldies around back in 1992, a big hit of nostalgia. If you like this, hit the like button. I'll be doing more classic and modern beat-em-up videos like this in the future, so here's a sound effect from the next game. Have a guess what it is in the comments, and consider hitting that subscribe to be notified when my videos go out. And tell me more about your experience with the Streets of Rage franchise in the comments below. For now, thank you for watching, stay safe, be excellent to yourselves and one another, and I will see you soon.